I've started to show you this, and I guess I'll film it little by little. Or maybe I said that already, what I'm doing here. I'm going to lay some stone. This is 2B. That's what I use, a little bit like mortar. Right there is going to be the bake oven, and I'm just building a well, you might say, for it now. Because what's critical is that I have the vault over the flue built out to where the chimney starts. Now, these are retaining walls. I'm building out of sandstone, and I don't cut any of it. I really never cut it. And I just lay it, and maybe I'll show you. I lay it so it doesn't wobble. I need to say about that. You have to lay it so that it does not wobble. And a lot of times if you just lay the stone and just turn it just a little bit until it's touching in 3 places, it won't wobble. Well, then I use the 2B gravel, if you want to call it that, a little bit like mortar, but it's not really critical. And I fill in, and then I go to the next course. There I've filled it in. Here I haven't yet really filled it in, but I'll show it to you. It'd be nice if I also had some finer. And I decided to use these blocks since I have enough of them. I'm going to come out so I've got a good flat level surface to start the vault from. I'm also laying stone here around the corner with the idea that the vault could conceivably thrust outward. That's maybe not necessary, but at some point I need a retaining wall. And here I'm beginning a retaining wall. Here the flue gases from way down there will come up, and then they'll go over to that chimney. Well, I'll build a little bit and then show you more what I'm doing. Okay, I've laid some stone in there. That took about 10 minutes or less, I don't know. And remember, I don't cut any. But what I was being a little careful with, I had to be, was I wanted to stay fairly level. Yes, and that is level. Now I'm going to fill in with the 2B. I'll throw it on there with the shovel. Oh, I was saying another thing I need to say was you want to make sure they don't wobble. But then the more that goes on them, the stronger they'll be. Just like tires on a pickup truck, when you put weight on it, it gets more traction. Well, as long as they don't wobble, they are going to want to stay always all the more in place. Okay, I'll show you in a moment what it looks like with gravel on. Okay, there, I threw some shovelfuls of gravel on there. And now I'm going to take my hand glove and I'm just going to smooth it out like that. When you go to build over this, you want to make sure you're building on your material. I mean, this is sandstone. The gravel, the 2B, is acting like mortar. And for what I'm doing, you don't want mortar between your strong stones. You want to go all the way down to the original stone to build, and let the mortar or my gravel fill in. All right, I'm doing this with just one hand, so I'm going to have to stop here, but I'll show you in a little bit what comes next. Well, they're not perfect. I mean, they're pretty good. But anyway, I wanted to show you that this is 1B. And this is the material now to use, but I don't have very much of it. I've only got a couple buckets of it. I'll go to town and get a whole load of it. I often jokingly refer to this as Frank's mortar, reusable mortar. I don't think I can film it while I set that block there, so I'll shut off here for a minute. Okay, again I say this is not perfect, not yet, but I don't have very much of that 1B. It's close. I mean, it's pretty good that way. It's pretty good that way, and I can just fill in. Matter of fact, it would probably be good enough, but I think I can do better. But I wanted to say that one of the things with 1B is you can take the stone and and move it around a little bit to get it to set in a little deeper. It really does work a lot like mortar. And another thing, since I virtually never, almost never build something that can't easily be taken apart, I can go back through and adjust any of this. As a matter of fact, 50 years from now, those stones could be used in some other job. Now I'm going to turn my attention to the other side. This is a little trickier. Well, I've gathered a few stones up here to lay. I call these laying stones because I think they're suitable for laying in the wall. I don't know if I used the term yet or not, but junk stones for me would be the stones that I put back behind that are round or small, or in there I'll put junk stones, although I still lay them. Now, I said about 50 years from now, well, these stones actually came from right here. So this is at least their second use. It could be their third or fourth use on this in this land, because I think my grandpap had a man lay them up behind that wall when he built it. But when Andy with his backhoe dug this out to better drain it, it wasn't drained. Every stone you're looking at came from right here, so they're being reused. Perfect. Oh, and still another thing I need to say. That wall I'm laying up plumb. These are retaining walls, don't forget that. I mean, you can't use quite the same technique with a freestanding wall, but these are retaining walls. But this one down there, I'm laying it up with a batter. That means it's not quite plumb. I'm stepping it back. And I found that this bank, when it gets soaking wet, it wants to slide. I found that out a couple years ago. So anyway, laying a retaining wall with a batter is a much better thing to do, but in this case, because of the bake oven and things that are going to go there, I really need a plumb walls. Well, that's what I'm doing anyway. All right, I'm going to lay some stone. Maybe I should film again. What I'm trying to do, I mean, I'm about to put the gravel in those stones that I laid, but what I'm trying to do is get that spot high enough so that I can complete this line and square this off. I don't want to build that without having a retaining wall against it. And another thing to say, well, several things. One, I'm building from right to left. Well, as we're looking at it, I'm building from left to right, but as I face the wall, I'm building from right to left. You know, usually you always think about building, well, you build from the bottom up. Well, yeah, that's true. Sometimes, not always. I'm also, in a way, building from the top down. Here's more or less the seam I'm aiming at. And that's what I've got to meet, and so I'm building up to that. Another thing, now, this isn't so good because it's sloping out. When you lay your stone, you want to keep in mind your next course. You don't want to make a problem for yourself. Here, for example, could be a problem, but I think I've got good enough stone, it won't matter. And as far as where the stone which stone goes there and how it's turned and flipped over, I guess there's an art to it. It's a lot like putting a puzzle together, and really it's kind of fun. My stone supply is running down. That's not good. There's a particularly nice stone, and now that I've got it laid and I'm comfortable with it, I'll probably just fill in with gravel and then quit. Now that stone is a beautiful stone too, but it's not so well laid. I'll adjust that later. A couple things more to say. Well, I might think of three. You want to break your joints, and I'll show you the worst spot that I see in this wall. It's right here where this joint is coming the whole way up through. But I'm not going to tear it back because of that. This is a pretty important solid stone. I'm not going to worry too much about it. But still, another thing to say, I am not a fan of chinking. Chinking is when you take some stone and you stick it in like that so it doesn't wobble. I don't like that. Basically, you should be able to take everything out that you see, and the only stones you see should be solid and weight-bearing. Let's see, another thing. The guy that taught me about this guy in New Hampshire named Newt Ford. I remember him. We used to talk about laying stone. He did it some, and he used to say that, yeah, guys would want him to lay up a fireplace or a wall or something like that and say, I've already got the stone. And he'd go there, and I remember his image. He said it looked like a pile of grapefruits and oranges. All round. Well, you don't want round stone unless you're going to just basically stick it in mortar, which is what most guys do. But if you're really doing true stonework, you don't really want round ones. You want to have good faces. But that's a whole other thing. And then still there's another matter. I think stonemasons, there's going to be some that look at this and they may want to complain, but I think most stonemasons are convinced that they know the magic, and it takes like a life of laying stone to learn it. I don't know. Maybe I'm the same. But well, this will be continued, the job. But I've had enough fun for today, and I think I'll throw the mortar in there, or the stone in the gravel in there, and then I'll probably quit for today.